Hello, thank you very much for joining me. My name is Swadik Mayanja, and I am Q the Nurse. And we are on another episode of the Everyday Hero Show, where I interview someone in your life or someone in my life that makes us smile, but does not get the credit that they deserve. And it's holiday season, gifts all over the place, and look at this. I got myself some goodies. Pottery, some art from Ella. Ella, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you
joining
for having me.
Oh, most definitely. So, right off the bat, why don't you tell me and the people, who are you and why pottery, why art?
You'll be doing things you don't like doing in order to go on living, that is, to go on doing things you don't like doing, which is stupid. Better to have a short life that is full of what you like doing than a long life spent in a miserable way.
All right, so I am an artist currently living in the DC area, but I grew up here in Newton. I have done pottery since like mid-college career. I was playing basketball in college, loved that, but
What?
I was, yeah.
Wait, seriously?
Yes.
Oh, we go back.
We go back playing basketball.
Yep.
And I really loved basketball, but I also something inside of me was pulling me towards art. And the school I was at, Skidmore College, allowed me to do both those things at once. So I really got into pottery. I took an intro class my sophomore year at Skidmore. Mm-hmm. And then I just kept taking classes at Skidmore and figured at the end of college I just couldn't keep going without like continuing my pottery. So I joined a studio where I live in DC, and I just can't stop. It's like an addiction.
So we're gonna get there. All right.
Yeah.
So, but let's go all the way back to her Newton North days, because Q went to Newton North. If you didn't know, now you know. So go Tigers, go Tiger Pride. But so at Newton North, I know there's a ton of those elective, like culinary and engineering stuff. Did you take the pottery? I don't even think it's called pottery.
There is.
Did you take the art class, the sculpting class? Did you do that?
I did art classes in high school. I think there was even a pottery elective, but I never took that. I just did a lot of painting, collaging, drawing, and I always did artwork ever since I was like 4. I mean, my mom is a painter, so I've always been drawn to using art as something to calm myself and express myself. So
and I, like she just said, I was about to say that, because when I walked in I was like, oh my goodness, this is art. And her mom had an apron all painted. It was kind of badass. So I'm like, this is super cool. And it's some beautiful stuff. I don't know if I can, but if I do, I will take some pictures and you can see what I'm talking about, because it is kind of beautiful.
Thank you.
It is kind of beautiful. Okay, basketball. You play ball.
Yes.
You play ball.
I did.
Oh, good. Go Celtics. All right. So when did you start playing basketball? Because I think that's super exciting.
Thank you.
And do you follow basketball at all?
Oh, yeah.
Do you care?
Celtics are doing great this year.
They're doing amazing.
They're doing
Go Kyrie Irving. But so you played basketball all of high school into college.
Yeah.
Right? And you mentioned basketball right before you mentioned art. Was there anything did they have anything to do with each other, or was it just like you went to college for basketball specifically and then your focus switched from basketball to art?
I'd say the second thing you said.
Yeah.
So I was recruited to play at Skidmore College. Loved it, loved the experience, played for 3 of the 4 years. Actually didn't play my senior year, but
That was your choice, or?
Yeah,
Okay.
we won a championship my junior year, which was really awesome and fun. And then I just decided to take my senior year to get myself involved in more things outside of sports, and art really became a strong focus for me.
Okay. So did you do art throughout your college career, or did it start when basketball ended?
Yeah, so I actually did art my whole life, in addition to basketball.
Okay.
Always in love with both of these things. And I took pottery my sophomore year at Skidmore, and really became more into it as my career developed in both basketball and
art.
Scholastics and art, yeah.
So I keep saying art real generally,
Yes, yeah.
okay, because but that's not right, because art is everything, right?
Yeah.
What I'm doing is art.
Definitely.
A very little bit of art. Very little bit of art. But I feel like everything is art, right? So let's talk specifically about pottery, because your mom obviously does a whole lot of paintings, and it's gorgeous, and you did pottery. Did you study art at all, or was it something you did on the side?
So I actually minored in art.
You minored in art. So when you
Yeah.
minor, when you major, whatever, when you're studying art, you have to pick a focus, or can you just say, I'm a art major?
So it depends on the school you go to. I majored in Spanish, I minored in business, and then I also minored in art. So,
You Newton folk, you work too hard.
so I just dipped my toes in everything. And in terms of like focusing in art, you can like do a concentration. So mine was really in pottery, but several of my friends did, mainly focusing on painting or photography or whatever was their favorite thing to do.
And so did you, so doing art your entire life up until college, when you did do pottery, was it like, oh my goodness, this is it? Or was it like, I like a little bit of everything, but I am best at pottery, so I'm going to do pottery?
It's a good question. So I always felt connected to drawing and painting, but I didn't realize how much more I could be connected to expressing myself through art until I picked up clay. And then when I picked up clay, it was like, this is what I am like meant to do. Like I feel like it is my passion, but it's also something that calms me. I just feel way more connected to this medium than any other medium I've worked with.
And I love that. I love that, like, I love that there's an actual thing there, right? Because I just have to come out and say it. When it comes to art, I am clueless. And not only am I clueless, I am willfully clueless, right? I don't want to get into the details of art. And that's just a personal, from an outsider's perspective, never taken an art class outside of like the mandatory stuff in like middle school.
Yeah.
I never had a thing for it, but that's just because I've always been horrible at drawing. And that's all kids, introduction into art, right? So drawing and coloring, and I've been horrible at both. How much of art do you think is talent, you were born with it, and how much of it is skill, if you had to?
That's a great question. Nature, nurture.
Yes.
So for me, it's just like in my household, it's like the air I breathe. My dad is a musician, my mom is a painter, my brother's very creative. So it's like I don't really know what it would be like if I wasn't raised this way, but I do know that it really is something that I connect to, and I don't know.
What I'm trying to say is, when you went to school, do you think there was a huge difference from you going into an actual class and learning this is the skills behind making a pot, making a plate? Or do you think you naturally were good at that, and then the skills took you from like 85% to 100%? Or like, how much did you actually learn from the class versus you being on your own and it coming to you?
I learned a lot in my classes about skills and techniques, but in terms of having like your own creative vision, that's something that every single person has. So you don't think you're that creative or that good in drawing and painting from your middle school days, but you may actually have something unique that I don't have, or that other people who consider themselves as artists don't have, because you have this raw approach where you are just like, it's just, you do what you know how to do. It's just like, everyone has their own creative style.
Yes.
It's like a fingerprint, you know,
Yes.
like I can't replicate yours, you can't replicate mine. And I don't know, it's just, I think people are too hard on themselves if they're not artists. They don't think they can be qualified as an artist, like you said that, of course, but like there were people in my college classes who had to take an art class for their major and ended up providing these perspectives that were amazing and like totally, something we didn't expect.
Of course. So in 2017, it's hard not to be like, if I say, oh, I'm an artist, it's hard not for someone to think you're a hippie. Where do you think those worlds collide? Is that even like a thing? Do you consider yourself very super ultra progressive, like sleep outside, live hippie life?
No.
I had to ask. I had to ask.
I don't know how to, reflect on my obsession with pottery these days, but
I'm stereotyping. I just had to put it out there because I know you're thinking it. Let's not lie to each other. All right, okay, all right. So on a more serious note, when you walk into the Museum of Fine Arts, is there a section you go to and go running? Oh, I need to go see this type of art. Oh, I love this section of the Museum of Fine Arts. Do you even go to these fine art museums, these shows that they have?
Definitely. Like, I'm all about going to museums and galleries.
Yes, galleries is the word I was looking for.
Yeah, it's it's something that fuels me. It's my academia, it's my study. So when I'm in a new city, I want to go see the artwork that's made there. I'm going to travel coming up. I'm going to be going to Cuba. Like, I want to go see if there's any pottery studios or galleries there. Just because it interests me and inspires me, but it also makes me connect to the people who live there. So it's definitely something I do.
And then is there a focus? Or are you like, I want to see it all? Or is it always like, I want to go to the sculptures, the pottery, that?
It's changed over my life. At first it was just like soaking it all in, but now of course I'm just drawn to pottery.
Yes.
And I want to see how people in museums and galleries do it. But I can take it in from any form of art form. It can inspire me, paintings inspire me, so I just love to walk through a museum actually alone the whole day, like take my time, sit in front of the painting.
Are you allowed to
bring a notebook? Like, I go and it's like my tranquil, day of relaxation.
That's awesome. That's
like,
awesome.
I don't go get a manicure. I go to the gallery and I sit there and I just look at the paintings.
I've been to the art museum a couple of times, and once a good friend of mine's older brother tricked us into going. He's like, "Oh, we're going into Boston." We were in high school, and we were like, "Yes, we're gonna hang out with the cool kids, the older kids." And he took us to the Museum of Fine Arts, and I was like, "This is the worst day of my life." But we got there. And I don't want to say history buff, but I think history is like the coolest thing ever. And specifically it was about the Egyptians. And then we walked through this history, like history of art and how the Egyptians have, influenced the world of art and all that cool stuff. And I was like, this is amazing. But it was a very focused, I feel like, opportune time for me to get into art. But that was probably the last time I was super into it, to be honest. So before we get into super deep into the ceramics, because we have quite a bit of your stuff out here, and I do want the world to see. And throughout this entire interview, there should be some popping up pictures of her good stuff on Etsy, which most definitely you should go check out. And I'll open some stuff out here. And this cup that I've been drinking my tea from is hers, so she's all over the goddamn world right here. So she's taking it. It's some beautiful, beautiful stuff. Please check it out. So let's talk about. Is it ceramics? Is it pottery?
Ceramics, pottery.
Same. Okay. So let's talk about ceramics, because all I know is that movie where that guy was behind that.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's the only.
God, no.
What's that movie?
Glow?
Ghost,
yeah.
whatever it is, you know what I'm talking about. Everyone knows what I'm talking about. That's the only thing I know about ceramics / pottery. So when you are making this stuff, you start out with, you said clay, right?
Yep.
And I've always seen people do that stuff, right? Yep. And a lot of people's work is curvy and like not always circular, and
right.
It's not always symmetrical. Is that you messing up and saying, "Ooh, let me leave it"?
Great question.
Or is it like, okay, this is actually what I'm trying to do?
That's a good question. I don't know. It depends on the artist. I think everyone, when they're making functional wear, tries to make it symmetrical.
Oh, that makes sense.
Like, in terms of just making it easier to drink. But sometimes, like this cup I made you is a square cup. You can really just do with it what you want. Like, that's what's so freeing about it. It's not a kind of artwork where you have to draw inside the lines and, fit corners together perfectly, anything like that. It's very freeform, and you can make mistakes and make something good out of them. I'm
just going to bring this one in and then compare it to this one, right? Yeah. So these two are like what I'm talking about. So this is very symmetrical. You can look at it. Yeah. It's a circle.
It's a vase,
It's a vase, yes. And it's like, it's symmetrical. And then this, look at this guy. I mean, it looks like it belongs in a Tarzan movie, and it's amazing, right? it's nice.
Yeah.
Both of these were on purpose.
Yes. So sculptural versus functional, maybe. You can make functional work that's not symmetrical, though. But
Yes.
basically, what I was going for with one was a vase, and something that wouldn't distract you from like beautiful flowers. Just something simple. And then this one is actually like something I worked on for a while, and it had a concept behind it. It was about the women that I made on the surface. There's like women all over it.
I'm going to take a closer pictures
Yeah.
of this because there are actually sculpted women on the vase, and I did not even notice it until you said it.
So these women, I forget what the thesis of this project was. It was a couple years ago, but I think it was something about dreaming. So I had multiple women like kind of swirling around on the surface and kind of like portray this like
They're in the
whimsical feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when I put a candle inside and light it up, it just provides really cool
That's awesome.
light. So
That's
yeah,
awesome. That's
thanks.
beautiful. It really is. It really
you.
is. And I have some pieces of art, and I think I'm going to open up the palm because I want you to
Please do.
explain that in a little bit for a second. So, okay, so you're making it, right? You got the
Yep.
clay. You're doing it on purpose, whether it's symmetrical or not. You doing it on it's like a thing that's
on the wheel or by hand. Yeah.
okay. All right. So
All this terminology.
exactly. You guys will see pictures because I know for a fact you're as clueless as I am. But that's why she's here. She's to put a light on ceramics and pottery. Okay, so you're almost done, right? And I remember like when you have your Instagram and you're putting up pictures, and I'm always like, oh my goodness, this is the one. I love this. Like this is hot. Her Instagram is gonna be in the description box below. Please check it out. She has got some super hot fire stuff. But I'm like, this is the one. I want this one, right? And then you're like, oh no, it's not finished yet, but it looks finished. What do you do after the clay is done before it comes out as pretty as this?
That's a great question. So, thank you. First, you make the piece, whether you're throwing it on the wheel or you're hand building it. So the clay is kind of wet. There's some liquid in the like mud of the clay. And then it dries out, and then you put it in a bisque firing, which is around 1900 degrees. I have an example over there if you want me to grab it.
Oh yes,
what it
please,
looks
please,
like.
please grab
Yeah.
it
So
if you can.
in a bisque firing, it comes out just a little bit harder, and it's unglazed. So this is just a little cup,
And it
and
feels
so it's hard.
yeah.
But the thing is, it's kind of porous. It's almost like a planter, like for plants outside. You know,
Yeah.
like water can get in it. And then you
This is all
dip
you?
this in glaze. These are all me.
That's
These are all
amazing.
bisque.
She's on board.
So you dip it in glaze, you paint it with glaze, whatever your style, and you don't put glaze on the bottom because you don't want it to get stuck in the kiln, because glaze is basically like a glass that fires at, depending on what temperature you do,
Yeah.
a lot of times it's around like 2,400 degrees, and then it becomes solid. It solidifies into this glassy glaze finish. So basically every time you make something, it goes through two firings, a bisque firing and a glaze firing, where you end up with the pretty
And like the
finish.
feel is
Mhm.
prettier. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it like glows
And
and
the-
shimmers in the light.
Yeah, without glaze it becomes quite hard and
Yeah.
less porous with the higher temperature.
Okay. So before we started, I was actually talking to her about where she works right now, and she was telling me that. Seeing you on social, I thought her full time was just making pottery and like living the pottery dream, right? So,
Yeah.
So where do you work? Because it has a lot to do with the art that you're doing. So where do you
Yeah.
work and what's going on there?
Yeah, so being a full-time potter would be the dream, but we're all on a budget. We've all gone to college. As you know.
The struggle
so
is real.
Right now, not like this is really helping me with my budget, but I am interning. I just finished an internship at the National Museum of American History, which is part of the Smithsonian in D.C.
It's like the biggest
Yeah.
museum in the history of
And
the world. It's kind of
so
amazing.
I was helping catalog the pottery they had there in their storage rooms, which were enormous and filled with rows and rows of potters that I've studied and like worshipped since college. So I got to pick up their work and make descriptions, and eventually they're going to put these online. So I'm really excited about that.
So at the museum, right?
Yep.
Because it's the Smithsonian. This is a museum, okay? This is not your local Newton kids museum. This is real stuff, right? So when you do see these things and you say you catalog them, when you say catalog them, you mean like you literally like look at it and say this should go here. You say this. When you mean you put it online.
Yeah,
right?
so we put them in this database that's kind of tricky to learn, and there's a photo, there's a description, there's when it was made, who gave the piece of pottery to the museum. So all this information goes online, and I assist with entering and figuring this out. And then it goes into the database, and then they put it online.
So I've always wondered, because the museums always have the coolest stuff on the planet. Do you guys ever sell stuff? Do you guys always buy stuff? Or is it always gifts?
Acquisitions, yeah. So
or is that not even your field? Like you even know?
I didn't get much experience in that. I was
okay.
just dealing with what they have, but I do know that a lot of times families of artists will give gift of whatever the art piece, or they buy it from, I don't know, the families to make sure they're provided for the wonderful work of their loved ones.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So because you worked in a museum where they have like these pieces of art that can cost billions of dollars, and that's something I really grinds my gears about art. But we'll get there. So because you work at this museum and you see this stuff, how much of the art, the pottery, the ceramics, the things, the sculpture that you deal with influence your art that you do every single day?
That's a great question. So I was very inspired by the artwork I saw there. Like I said, I was studying these famous potters and in college, and then to have the opportunity to really pick up their work and see like how heavy it was, see the texture, and like feel the work they made really was inspiring and made me rethink my approach to making cups, making bowls, and then also making like non-functional work, more sculptural things. So very inspiring.
So when it comes to when it comes to paintings, I can see that like one painting is insanely different from another painting, right? When it comes to ceramics, when it comes to pottery, there are a ton of similarities. So I usually ask artists and musicians, the very few that I have had on the show, do you have a favorite piece? But like just looking at what you have right here, like 5 of them look very, very similar. Yeah. Is that a thing? Like you have a favorite piece?
So I was going for a series. A lot of times, especially with pottery, you're making a table set or a set of vases, or you know, something you can put together in a room as home decor. But it depends what you're really going for. Sometimes you just want like a one-of-a-kind piece. But like these 2 cups are kind of a little series. They have matching colors, you know, like something you can put in your kitchen. And they have people on them, and it's really pretty. So yeah, it just depends what you're going for. I think the goal for every potter is to make a line of work that someone, you know, on Instagram or someone in a gallery, someone can look at your work and say, that's Ella, you know? Like, that's the goal.
Oh, that's the goal. Ooh.
Like, for me, I want to, you know, make my work so unique that people will know immediately, like, that's Ella. And I think that's something special, to provide, like, this unique, you know, form
oh my goodness,
of
Ella,
artwork.
I just got them goosies.
And
wait, that's real though.
Yeah, like,
so okay,
that's what I want to do. That would just
legit.
make me feel like, you know, like I'm contributing to something bigger, and people will be happy to recognize my work.
That's amazing. Know. Are you because I am clueless when it comes to art. Yeah. It's very hard for me to know. Yeah. Like I don't even know. Like there's very, 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 very few pottery artists that I know. Yeah. I don't know any. Is there like an artist that you like strive to be like, or because it's art you want to have your own thing?
I definitely admire and want to be like several modern potters out there. the struggle is finding how to make that lifestyle right for you, because it's not the most lucrative form of living.
Oh, definitely not. It's super difficult.
Yeah, so for me, I definitely am inspired by people and learning about how they find happiness in expressing themselves, but also living a lifestyle that is, you know, functional in terms of like making enough money. But I definitely took inspiration from the museum, and I ended up connecting with some potters that I really admire, and hopefully I might be able to do a residency where I like go to their studio, help them out. No, I don't get paid. It's just like I'm there to learn how do they live their lifestyle, so that maybe I can apply what I learned there to my life as I
that dedication is serious.
Yeah.
So just because you just said it's not the most lucrative, and it just isn't. It's really, really difficult because you're not going to sell every piece that you make. That's insane. That's like, right? But when you are making art, and I feel like pottery is like the oldest one, because when I think of like the old days, you have like these people that live in huts and they have their pottery. But that's like if you get to the point where you can sell enough pieces to live comfortably, right? Do most artists that do pottery and ceramics, do they like also own a studio and do classes? Like, what do they do to fill in that gap of between people buying your stuff?
I mean, the hardest part about it is that everyone takes their own route. It's not like, you know, you have a structure to follow. Like nursing, like, you know, there are probably, I don't know, limited ways that you can pursue your career.
Exactly.
So
it's one of them careers that you always have a job.
So much structure, which is, there's greatness in that, but for me, I need freedom in some sorts of ways. It's just how I function. So this career is one where, you know, exactly, you could make your own pottery, you could sell it, but that won't take you so far unless you are like #1 seller on Etsy or like in galleries and museums as a fine artist, as in like making things that sell for thousands of dollars, you know.
Have you have any pieces in a museum?
I don't have any museums. I do in some galleries.
Ooh, okay.
And
all in DC?
No, I have one in Waltham. I have a couple mugs in Monique Rancourt's gallery on Moody Street.
Hey, all right. So stop by Moody Street.
Yeah, and I did a lot of sales like at festivals and at the gallery I was interning in DuPont Circle in Washington, D.C. We had a couple of sales there as well.
So that's really good. So I do want to see that. I'm going to bring this guy in so we can talk a little bit about this. And while she's talking about this, I'm going to be opening my present because I do want to know what this is.
Cool.
And then we're going to talk about my palm.
So I made this my sophomore year of college, my first pottery class. This is the original. The OG pottery piece.
The OG.
A lot of times in a college class, they give you a prompt to work on, and the prompt was like your expression of home. So we had just moved from my childhood home that year, from somewhere else in town to this house, and I was trying to capture the essence of my old house, and so that we had to make a container. So this piece is actually a container, and I was imitating the roof and going for more of
and it's a big
geometric
piece
shape. It's pretty large, and I just really loved how all the glazes interacted. That's what I love about pottery. You can try to make something look the way you want it to look, but in a lot of forms of firings, you don't know how the glazes are going to interact. And
so when you want, the glazes are the colors, right?
The glazes are the colors, the finishing glaze, the shiny,
All right, perfect. Hopefully we didn't miss too much, but we would just finish talking about her OG piece, and you'll see that. And if we missed any of it, I'll fill you guys in at the post. But I've seen this everywhere. I'm gonna just put this up close, and when I say everywhere, because I recently got into yoga. Oh, the lighting is absolutely horrendous. I'll take a picture, and you'll see it much better. I don't know what it is. I don't know why it's attractive. I don't know what I'm looking at. So please explain to me in the world, What does this weird palm hand shape mean?
So, I have it like oriented this way where you can
Oh my
hang on
God.
a wall. That doesn't matter though.
Okay.
Like every culture has a different like display of this figure, which is called the hamsa.
Hamsa.
It comes up in Indian culture, Israeli culture, North African, like it is worldwide. A lot of people associate it just with Judaism, but it's actually comes up in so many different ways because it's like more of a spiritual symbol than anything. So basically, it's a hand, and it's called the hamsa, and the premise is that you hang it up near your front door,
Yes.
and it protects you from evil spirits, evil like bad karma. Basically, the evil eye. A lot of times in Turkish culture, the blue and white evil eye. It's just meant for protection. So that's the core purpose of it.
I love
Yeah.
it. Like I am obsessed with this hamsa. I'm obsessed with this
Hamsa,
thing.
yeah.
I think it's beautiful.
Thank
I
you.
really, really do. And this is mine, you guys. Yeah, she made it, but this is mine. I got it off Etsy, which you should do the same. So the link is going to be down below, like I said. I'm also very nervous. I have younger siblings. Do you have any pets?
I don't.
You don't
I
have
never
any
grew up-
pets.
yeah.
Okay. But I have younger siblings. So I have to ask the obvious question. You make ceramics. What's
Yeah.
the best piece you've ever broke?
Ooh, that's a great question.
Because you must have like dropped a well, I'm very clumsy, so
Yeah.
you know, like this camera, thank God, let's pray it doesn't break, but you must have dropped,
Yeah.
fumbled a few pieces.
Oh yeah. No, part of being a potter is knowing that nothing will like most definitely remain unbroken.
That's
Like
oh,
you
God.
you can pour your heart and soul into a piece and it might even crack in the kiln.
Oh,
So
that's cringe.
opening the kiln is like a Hail Mary. Like I hope everything is okay. But I've definitely dropped some mugs in the kitchen and wanted to shed a tear, but
Oh,
you know,
jeez.
I'll just go out and make another one. That's
There
what's
you
cool.
go. And are you able to replicate something? Like, are you able to say, I'm
Yeah.
going to make this exactly? I know
That's
the
a good
coloring
question.
is a little
Yeah.
off, but are you able to? It seems like
Yeah.
you are.
So to make something exactly the same is like nearly impossible. Like of course there's all these factors for just slight change between pieces handmade, but there are forms of replicating pieces which is called slip casting. So you basically make a mold and then you pour wet pottery into it,
okay.
and then you can make hundreds of the same piece.
And so this is getting close to the end. I'm sorry, but you've been fabulous. Thank you for answering the 1,000,001 questions. I feel a little bit smarter, and I feel like I can understand a little bit better.
Great.
But when you are making these pieces, is it because when you have there's a couple of these Instagram videos that you make that I can actually see you make them,
Yeah.
right? Like go through the process.
Yeah.
And you once, I think you said it took you like 20 minutes, 15 minutes. Like,
Yeah.
it was like, I think it was like a mug. It was like a simple mug, like no handle, like a simple
Right.
mug. Definitely not the paintings, but
Yeah.
just the mug itself. What would you say, because you have a ton of pieces, do you just bang out like 100 a day? Like, what is, are you
Yeah.
all about quantity? Are you all about quality? Where is your...
That's a really good question. So, yeah, it depends on the artist's motive. For me, I'm not as much about quality as quantity. I love, I meant the vice versa. I'm
Okay.
not as much about quantity as quality.
Okay.
So I really like to make things, because I like to take my time and just like express myself. For me, it's not like about making 100 of the same cup or something, because that seems more monetarily like focused, like I'm making these just to sell them.
Yes.
And for me it's not like that. I don't want to lose that passion and that love I have for pottery just because I'm trying to make sales.
Yes.
Like that's part of it, but it is what
It's not all of it.
no. So,
I hear you. No, I definitely hear you. And when you are doing pottery, because this is your passion, this is what you're doing, like I'd say like probably 80% of what I see you doing. Do you do any other forms of art currently, or is it strictly pottery right now?
That's a great question. So I do a lot of artwork, drawing, sketching. Right now it has to do mostly with pottery, like sketching vessels and things that I want to make. But I think it's really important for an artist to try to...
I'm so sorry. Right? When you say sketching a vessel, do you mean actually drawing on the cup? Or
No,
do you mean
I mean
on
in my notebook, like drawing a vessel, like a vase or
Oh,
a cup,
okay. Oh,
something
okay,
that
okay,
I want to
okay,
go out
okay.
and make. Because sometimes it's nice to have a little bit of a game plan before you get out there and do it.
Interesting.
But what was I just talking about?
You were saying that you do different kinds of art. You just draw
yeah.
vessels and...
I think it's important for an artist to do artwork outside of their main medium. Like as a nurse, you want to get out there and get experiences in situations that aren't necessarily like in the X's and O's, like in your textbook.
Yeah. So
you know? Yeah.
like just to follow up on that, she's like absolutely right. And if you didn't know, now you know. I mean, you just started a new job, and that's largely because I worked at a brain injury stroke unit. I want to get into cardiac, but on the cardiac unit, I also want to make sure I know my IV skills. I also want to make sure that I can hang out with the endoscopy folks. So like, it's a different kind of world,
but it applies.
It definitely applies. I do want to, dip my finger in other places. Yeah. I love that. Okay, we mentioned the Etsy, we mentioned the Instagram, and I am going to put both of those on the screen and the link in the description box below with their links, so you can click on them if you want. Anywhere else, where can people find you? Where can people physically see your art? How can people get in contact with you? Please let the world know.
Thank you. That's a nice plug.
Yes.
So definitely Etsy right now. I'm going to be traveling a little bit, so I can't send off my items until mid-January. But Etsy, Instagram, that's really where I keep it most updated. And just messaging me. I do personal requests like wedding gifts. Or,
you do?
Yeah.
Wait,
or like
you do?
Christmas mugs, like best dad in the world, if that's what you want, I'll try to do it. But yeah, I'm going to spend the spring really focusing more on my development in non-functional work, so sculptural, more artwork that you might see in a gallery. So that's the goal, to develop that more, but I'm going to continue making the usual pots and, plates, whatever the public requests.
Yes. So this OG, this pyramid, this big thing that you guys seen earlier, and I'll put the picture up again, but is that the biggest thing you've ever made? What's the biggest?
Oh, yeah. I made a vase once that was like this big.
Oh, okay. So nothing like extraordinarily big.
Stuff, but I kind of want to try. Right?
And
like,
when you
are
are making something that big, is it like you have to make it in different pieces, or is it like?
Yeah.
Because is there something like like that spinning board? Is there something big enough to like for you to stand up and make it?
Yeah, so there's so many different techniques. You could coil build, you could have a long coil and just wrap it and just like build up.
Yeah.
Or you could have slabs, which would be like long rectangular pieces that you cut and put together. But the main thing about pottery is it's all about timing. So clay will dry out. Let's say it's you built a vessel by hand and the top dries out but the bottom's still wet. It might crack. So you really have to be on top of it, either spray it with like a water bottle or like keep it wet. It's all about timing. So that's why it's nice to be near a studio.
And I know I said I was almost done, but this question just popped up. Do you have any collaborations? Like, are there any art pieces that you did half of it? Or you did like the base? Is that even a thing?
It's definitely a thing. I haven't gone down that road that much, but I do think my own work kind of reflects the paintings of my mom a lot. So I pull from her ideas a lot and think maybe in the future we could do a joint show where she shows her paintings and I show my pottery.
That's
and
awesome.
we work together and
And
bounce
she can
ideas.
paint on your pottery.
Yeah, or she
Isn't
could
that-
paint on my pottery.
Oh, I love
yeah.
that. Oh my goodness, family first. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Ella. Thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you.
on. I think it was absolutely fabulous. Like I said, all the plugs that you mentioned before, it's going to be all over the screen. Click, click, click. Go check it out. Even if you don't know it, I'm telling you, I'm not artsy. I don't do art. I got myself a couple of pieces here. They're fabulous. Seeing it in person, holding it. Check out our Instagram. You're going to love it. The holidays are here. So, wonderful. Thank you,
Thank
and
you.
goodbye. Up top, girl.
Awesome.